Hi guys, it's Glory again. In the previous video, I showed you how I showed you how I simulated the emergency room, and now I'm going to show you how I want to optimize this emergency room and how I'm going to try and do it. So these are the parameters that we already talked about. This is the simulation. And so something to note, registration, we already talked about this. The initial capacity was 2. And check out the capacity was 3, and what was it? So there was something else changed. This was 1. So these are changed because I was trying to optimize it. So we ran it the first time and it took about 47 to 49 minutes on average time and system. And we want to minimize that, and we also want to save money. So we don't want to minimize it, just be like, oh, whatever, as long as you minimize it, doesn't matter how much money it takes. We also want to minimize, but also like spend the least amount of money to minimize it significantly. So how I'm going to do that is in JUMP, what I did was I created, well, let's start from the beginning. So here, this is when you open up JUMP, this is what you have. I would go into DOE, Design of Experiments, and I'm going to click on Custom Design. And I have 2 output variables that I want to minimize. I wanted to minimize time and system, and I also wanted to minimize cost. And then for my factors, I had 6 factors, and my factors happen to be the capacity of the servers. So we're not changing, there's nothing we can change about the actual inputs of the system. I can't be like, oh, well, we're going to make the patients walk in at a slower rate, or we're going to make x-ray patients wait 10 minutes, but there's not much that, there is, I could easily click on it and be like, okay, I'm going to change the sequence, but realistically you can't really do that. You could change your hours so that people have to come in a short amount of time. That saves you money, but it makes it more like hard for them. We're just keeping it like normal, and we're just going to change the capacities of these 6 servers. So to do that, you just click on it. But to set up the experiment, so once I'm in here, right? All I would do is put in 3 factors, and I would put in the types of factors. So, for example, for treatment, I don't want to hire 2 doctors because that's already $240,000. So for the other 5 factors, I'm gonna have the options to be 0, 1, or 2. I can either hire none, hire 1, or hire 2. Whether it's triage clerk or accountant or x-ray technician with an x-ray machine. But for treatment, I'm just going to hire either 0 or 1 doctor. So it's going to be 2 level for that and 3 level for the rest. So basically I continued it, and there were 18 runs default, and so I just went with that, with the 18 default. And this is what it gave me. And then I plugged in these 2 columns. So the way that I did this was previously here, and this is a link that I'm going to post below in case you want to learn how to route with sequences and kind of have a healthcare clinic. This is not an emergency room, but it's a healthcare clinic, so it's similar. So I just multiplied, if I was hiring 1, then I do 35 times 1. And so here it's in thousands. Something else to note here, this is in minutes. And this was a little tedious, so this is what I had to do. I went into Simio and under experiment, and I just ran this experiment 18 times, each time changing whatever the variables told me. So if it was 0, 1, 1, 1, then I would just go back to the default, and then I add 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and then I'd run it and then see. And so when I initially looked at this, I was like, wow, this is it's kind of accurate. Here I'm adding, this costs so much, it costs $515,000, but the average time and system is 23.13 minutes. That's great, but that costs so much. But then look down here, you're losing 3 minutes, and oh no, that's not. But something like this, 335 versus 155, but it takes less time. So because I can't go through every situation, this function in JUMP is really helpful. So it's really cool. So all I did is I ran it 18 times. I put these down. Then in my calculator, I just punched out these numbers, There's a function in the calculator that you can use to like make it go quickly. If you like set these as lists and like have a formula, have like 35 times L1 times 30 times L2, but I'll let you guys learn how to do that on your own time. And then in model, I'm going to right click and then I run the script. Here, these are my two output variables and these are my two input variables, aka independent variables, dependent variables. This is what I want to minimize. I'm going to run it. And I was very pleased with this. My p-value is less than 1%. My r-squared value is 94, which is really good. Good correlation. Obviously, there's a correlation with these 5 and the cost in thousands, but like with average time in minutes, I'm very impressed that like the capacity, like the smallest change in capacity is the biggest thing for the time. So here are some significant figures. A lot of the significant figures are at 0, which isn't really the best thing. Because basically that's saying I would have to go up to the people in the hospital and be like, keep things as they are. But I did create this simulation. I did put in the numbers myself, so I chose good numbers that gave me good, like a good utilization. So it's not always going to be like, oh, keep it the same. Like if you had like different numbers to work with, I'm sure it'd be easier to optimize. Okay, sorry about that cut. Basically, these are my significant values, and what it advises me to do is do nothing. And honestly, this is like, it could be true. Sometimes it's better to do nothing than actually do something, because like, why mess with something that's good? But here, what I can see is, so EKG doesn't, keeping it at 0 is fine, but increasing it by 2 also helps. X-ray capacity, same thing, also helps. And then checkout capacity. But some of these values, so it depends. But so I would honestly, basically what it's saying is that if you add either 0 or add 2, it's going to either choose 0 or choose 2. So like up to you to decide. But something that, so registration, this isn't great, but I would want to increase my X-ray capacity, maybe. My EKG capacity. So I could go back and do that, but that's what it's saying, and this is like a good way. If I think my simulation was already too particular because I like set up the numbers myself and I didn't know that it would turn out like this, but this is how you would run it. And if there was like a lot that needed to be helped with your system, then you could easily, like if this is like 1, 2, 3, and 4, then be like, oh, I need to hire 1 registration clerk and 2. So if my numbers that come out better, but this is basically how you would do it. So hopefully that helped. I was kind of all over the place. Just a quick summary, I did a simulation Simio on an emergency room. I had 4 entities. I went through it in 6 servers, and each server had a processing time and it had its own capacity. I did not mess with the processing time, but the capacity was my variable that I was changing when I did this DOE. And I used routing sequences to have my entities go through their paths. And then these are the parameters I set up. And then in JMP, I conducted a design of experiments. I customized my own. I did a custom one. And I had 5 variables and 2 Y values that I was trying to minimize. And basically, I can add 2 or I can add 0. I could go back in, and if I added 2, this will work. So let me just quickly show you. So under registration, initial capacity was 2, but it said I could add 2. So I'm going to make it 4 now. And then for X-ray, also I'm going to add 2. And also for EKG, but I don't want to waste too much money. So it's just like up to me now. Say they like gave me full power over it. So now I'm going to go into my experiment. I'm going to reset this, and this is like very basic, 48 hours, 5-hour warm-up period, and I'm going to run it 10 times. And hopefully it runs fast, because if I was doing like 1,000 hours, then it would take a while, but it's not. So, and remember, previously our average time was 47 to 49 minutes. And these will give me significant value, so it will give me a significantly reduced time and system. So I'm going to go to the pivot grid, and down here, see 0.5306. I think I've already seen that figure before when I tested this earlier. Yeah, 31.836 minutes. So basically, we reduced time by 16 minutes, but how much money did we lose if we bought 2 X-ray and X-ray techs and 2 registration? So that's 70,000 plus 180,000. We lost 250,000, but that's actually pretty good considering 250. Where's the number close to 250? Like here, 33. We greatly less than that. But here, look, 360 and 20. No, that's not right. That is less. Here, this cost 360, but it was 40 minutes. So these are like the wrong variables to increase. So basically, the outputs that we got so many significant values that you honestly have a lot of options to play with. And that's what I would say. That's how I would say to optimize it. Play with the significant values given. That was given whenever we ran the model. So that's how I would optimize it. Obviously, this is not the perfect emergency room situation. But yeah, that's a way to optimize this emergency room. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned something about Simio. And check out the link below because that'll give you like a very in-depth, and I'll actually go through it with you, but it won't have the jump part, it'll just have the Simio part. So have a great day. Bye.